Welcome to Learn Commerce PU online classes. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Hello students, welcome to the second PUC English online classes. So Vandana Shiva, her involvement in the contemporary ecology movement that began with the Chipko movement. As I said, Chipko movement is a non-violent response to the large scale of deforestation. You know what is deforestation? Cutting of the trees, number of trees and destruction of the nature or destroying the nature. So here she tells us in the 1970s peasant women from her region in the Garhwal Himalaya had come out in the defense of the forest. So especially the Chipko movement was started by peasant women, and they started this movement by hugging the trees. Why? Because they realized the real value of the forest. How did they know the real value of the forest? Because they realized that logging had led to landslides and floods. Logging means cutting the trees and making the timber from it. That led to the landslides and floods and scarcity of water, fodder and fuel. Fodder in the sense food for the cattle, and also the fuel. Since women provide these basic needs, the scarcity meant longer walks for collecting water and firewood and a heavier burden. So women must provide these kinds of requirement, especially water, then fodder and fuel. When there is a scarcity, that meant them longer walk and a heavier burden. And here, to avoid that, they realized they have to save the trees. That is why they knew the real value of the forest, that is not the timber but the springs and streams. The real value of the forest are not the timber or dead tree, not the timber from a dead tree, but the springs and the streams, food for their cattle and fuel for their hearths. The women declared that they would hug the trees and the loggers would have to kill them before killing the trees. Here women realized the real value of the forest. That is why they decided to hug the trees, so that the tree cutters must cut them first and then they have to cut the trees. So that they decided to hug the trees, and that is called as the Chipko movement. Then they sang a folk song. This is the folk song of the time 1970s, sung by the peasant women who led resistance against the tree cutters. That is, these beautiful oaks and rhododendrons, they give us cool water. Don't cut these trees, we have to keep them alive. This Vandana Shiva tells us that this is the song of the peasant women. Then in 1973, Vandana Shiva had gone to visit her favorite forest in the Himalayan region before she is leaving to Canada to do her PhD. Then when she went there, she had seen that the streams and the streams or the rivers, they have reduced to a trickle. There was no water, and those who are full of water now reduced to a trickle. Trickle in the sense little water was available in the ponds. Then by looking at this, she decided to become a volunteer for the Chipko movement, and whenever she came to her mother or for her native place, then she spent time, or she spent her vacation doing padyatras. Padyatra, you know, walking pilgrimages, documenting the deforestation and the work of the forest activists and spreading the message of Chipko. So, she decided to involve herself in the ecological movement and support the forest activists. So, that is why whenever she came to her native during the vacation, she spent her time in doing padyatras and also documenting the deforestation and the work of the forest activists. Then there was a dramatic Chipko movement took place in the Himalayan region and the Himalayan region, and the name of the village is Advani in 1977. There a woman called Bachni Devi, who led resistance against her own husband, who got or who obtained the contract to cut the trees. She hugged the trees and led resistance against her own husband. She told him first he had to cut her, then he had to touch the trees. When officials arrived at the forest, the woman held up lighted lantern although it was broad daylight. So, here you can see a different or different attitude of the women, that is the women held the lighted lanterns during the broad daylight when the officials came to see this resistance. The forester asked them to explain what is the reason behind holding these lighted lanterns on this broad daylight. The women replied, "We have come to teach you forestry." Then they replied, "You foolish women, how can you prevent tree felling by those who know the value of the forest? Do you know what forests bear? They produce profit and resin and timber." So, here the forest cutters or forester, they came and they asked the women, "What is this foolish thing? Why are you holding the lamps during the broad daylight?" Then the women replied, they wanted to teach them what forestry is. So, here the forester, they said that you are the foolish women, you do not know the real value of the forest, and the real value of the forest is according to the forest cutters, that is profit, resin in the sense the thick substance used in making varnish, and timber. So, here the women replied and said strongly, they said that what is the value of the forest or what forest is to them. They said, the women sang back in chorus, "What do the forests bear? Soil, water and pure air. Soil, water and pure air sustain the earth and all she bears." So, women really, they knew the real value of the forest. They said that the forests bear soil, water and pure air which sustain the earth and all she bears. Without water, without soil and without pure air, nothing can be lived on this earth. So, this is what Vandana Shiva, she explains in her essay, that how she learnt about the ecology and about the how she was influenced towards the ecological movement. She explains in the first set of the essay. And here we can see how women, they started the ecological movement, those uneducated women especially. This is what Vandana Shiva tells in her essay. In the next session, let us see how Vandana Shiva, she gave her support, or how she practiced biodiversity and how she supported biodiversity. Let us see in the next session. In the previous class, we learned how Vandana Shiva started her ecological journey, or her journey in the ecological movement, that she was influenced by the peasant women, especially they are uneducated, that and all we saw. In this class, let us see what is her opinion about biodiversity and beyond monocultures. Monoculture in the sense growing only one type of crop in a certain area of land. But here she is against to this monoculture. She wanted to go beyond this monoculture, that she wanted to introduce diversity, that is biodiversity. So, she tells us that from Chipko she had learnt about biodiversity and biodiversity based living economies. So, she wanted to tell us that she had learnt about biodiversity and biodiversity based living economies. The protection of both had become her life's mission. So, she wanted, and in her life she wanted to do the great thing, that is protecting both biodiversity and biodiversity based living economies. So, what she did to protect that, let us see. As she declared, or as she described in one of her book, that is Monocultures of Mind. So, Vandana Shiva wrote a book called Monocultures of Mind. In that, what she had pointed out, or what she had written, especially in that she had written the cause for the failure to understand the biodiversity and its many functions is at the root of the impoverishment of nature and culture. So, here impoverishment in the sense fail to understand the value of diversity. So, why we are failed to understand the value of biodiversity? Because we failed to understand the functions of diversity. So, this is the root cause for the failure of understanding the nature and culture. So, here in Monocultures of Mind, Vandana Shiva tells us that the failure to understand biodiversity, why we failed to understand biodiversity? Because its main functions is at the root of the impoverishment of nature. We failed to understand biodiversity because we failed to understand the nature and culture. That is why we did not understand the value of biodiversity. The lesson, she tells us that the lesson she had learned about biodiversity in Himalayan forest, and she had transferred to the protection of biodiversity on their farms. So, since she realized the value of biodiversity, she wanted to protect the biodiversity in their farm. So, she tells us that she started saving seeds from farmers' fields and then realized that they needed a farm for demonstration and training. So, to protect this biodiversity, she worked with many farmers. She wanted, or she collected, or she took the help of the farmers. From the farmers she collected the seeds, and also the farmers helped by giving their fields to for the demonstration and training of biodiversity. Thus, the Navadanya farm was started in 1994 in Doon Valley, located in the lower elevation Himalayan region of Uttarakhand province. This is the important thing we have to remember. It is asked for the exam, or this question will be definitely asked for the exam. That is the Navadanya farm, to protect the biodiversity and also to demonstrate and train the biodiversity. The Navadanya farm was started in Doon Valley in 1994. That was Doon Valley, located in the lower elevation of Himalayan region of Uttarakhand province. Then till now this Navadanya farm that could conserve and grow 630 varieties of rice. Imagine 630 varieties of rice, this Navadanya farm that had collected and that is growing, and 150 varieties of wheat and hundreds of other spices. Then also here Vandana Shiva, she said that they practiced and promoted a biodiversity intensive form of farming that produces more food and nutrition per acre. So also they used biodiversity intensive form of farming here, which could provide more food and nutrition per acre. The conservation of biodiversity is therefore also the answer to the food and nutrition crisis. By starting Navadanya farm, she gave a solution to the food and nutrition crisis, that is conservation of biodiversity. Biodiversity in the sense growing different types of crops in a same land or in a certain land. So, here in a same land growing different kinds of crops, in the sense we could get different types of crops. So, here it could provide varieties of food or crops. So, that is the answer for the food and nutrition crisis. Then Vandana Shiva, she tells us about Navadanya farm, that is Navadanya, the movement for biodiversity conservation and organic farming. It is not only the biodiversity conservation, but also it taught us how to use the organic or how to utilize that organic farming, that is grown without, or crops or vegetables or whatever it may be, that is grown without using the chemicals. So, here biodiversity conservation and organic farming that she had started in 1987 is spreading now. Now, everywhere it is spreading, and she influenced everyone and she motivated everyone to follow this biodiversity and also this organic farming. So far they had worked with the farmers to set up more than 100 community seed banks across India. So, Vandana Shiva and her farmers, they worked hard to set up more than 1000 community seed banks across India. Then they had saved more than 3000 rice varieties. Also, they helped the farmers make a transition from fossil fuel and chemical based monocultures to biodiverse ecological system nourished by the sun and soil. So, they promoted, or they realized the people how to use or how to avoid this fossil fuel and chemical based monocultures, using the same growing the same type of crops and using the fossil fuel and chemicals to make the farming. That was Vandana Shiva and her team that promoted, or they supported the farmers to change from fossil fuel and chemical based monocultures to biodiverse ecological system that is nourished by sun and the soil, especially using the solar energy and also using the natural fertilizers such as manure, etc. So, here Vandana Shiva in her essay, she is trying to tell us that biodiversity has been the teacher of abundance and freedom, of cooperation and mutual giving. So, whatever we give to the earth, that only that returns us, and if we harm the earth, definitely the earth will destroy us on the other day. And if we understand this more properly, we can see the present situation. In the present situation, man is helpless in each and everything, and whatever he had achieved till now, that cannot be counted in front of the nature. So, this is what Vandana Shiva, she is trying to tell us in her essay, that if we co-create or if we cooperate with the earth, definitely the earth will save us and we can live a happy and healthy life. In the next session, let us discuss the rights of nature on the global stage. So, here how the nature or the earth is given importance in the universal level, that let us see in the next session. In the last class, we had discussed about the beyond monoculture and the use of diversity or biodiversity, and also we had seen that Vandana Shiva, she started Navadanya farm to promote and to practice and to train the biodiversity on the farms with the help of farmers. The next in this class let us discuss or let us see the rights of nature on the global stage. So, the rights of nature according to Article 71, nature where life is reproduced and exists has the right to exist, persist, maintain and regenerate its vital cycles, structure, functions and its processes in evolution. Every person in a country has the right to demand the recognition of rights for nature. So, here the same with the same concept, here the country Ecuador that has recognized the rights of nature in its constitution. When the nature is a teacher, we have to co-create with the nature. So, we recognize her agency and her rights. That is why it is significant that Ecuador has recognized the rights of nature in its constitution. So, it has given the right to the individual to raise the question or to demand for the rights of nature. So, in April 2011, the United Nations General Assembly, inspired by the Constitution of Ecuador and the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Mother Earth initiated by Bolivia, organized a conference on harmony with the nature as part of Earth Day celebration. So, Earth Day celebration was celebrated everywhere in the world, and on that special day the United Nations Assembly, which was influenced by Ecuador and Bolivia, who have given the rights for the nature, they organized a conference on harmony with the nature. Much of the discussion centered on ways to transform systems based on domination of people over nature, men over women and rich over poor into new system based on a partnership. So, here harmony with nature, in this discussion, in this conference on this topic the conference was held. On this it is discussed that everything, whoever dominating on another, they must not dominate, instead of that they must be treated as equal or like partners in the sense both will have the equal rights or equal power. So, here the discussion was centered on ways to transform system based on domination of people over nature, especially people over nature. People are dominating over nature, such as men over women and rich over poor, into new system based on partnership. There should be understanding, there should be equality, there should be partnership between these three things. Then UN Secretary General's report Harmony with Nature, issued in conjunction with the conference, elaborates on the importance of reconnecting with the nature. Ultimately, environmentally destructive behavior is the result of failure to recognize that human beings are an inseparable part of nature and that we cannot damage it without severely damaging ourselves. The UN Secretary General's report, here Harmony with Nature, it is issued in conjunction with the conference, and in this it is discussed that the failure to recognize that human beings are an inseparable part. we human beings, we failed to recognize ourselves that we are the inseparable part from nature, and this failure that we did not understand that we are inseparable part of nature, that is the root cause for the disharmony with the nature, and we have to realize that if we are damaging the nature, then we are damaging ourselves. If the nature, if the earth is damaged, if the environment is damaged, then it is a damage to ourselves. So, it is said that environmentally destructive behavior is the result of failure to recognize that human beings are an inseparable part of nature, and that we cannot damage it without severely damaging ourselves. If we are damaging the nature, then it is a damage for ourselves. Separatism indeed at the root of disharmony with nature and violence against nature and people. As the prominent South African environmentalist Cormac Cullinan points out, apartheid means separateness. The world joined the anti-apartheid movement to end the violent separation of people on the basis of color. Apartheid in South Africa was put behind us. Today, we need to overcome the wider and deeper apartheid and eco-apartheid based on illusion of separateness of human from nature in our minds and lives. So, here in the last paragraph it is said that separatism is indeed, it is the root of disharmony, or it is the basic or principal cause for the disharmony with nature and violence against nature and people. So, here Cormac Cullinan, the prominent South African environmentalist, he tells us that apartheid means separateness, and in the world we have joined our hands towards the apartheid or separation of people on the basis of color, caste, creed, etc. But here now there is the need to join our hands against the apartheid, that is eco-apartheid, that we have to join our hands to realize the people that human beings are not an inseparable part of the nature. We have to co-create, we have to cooperate with the nature. Then next Vandana Shiva, she explains the dead earth world view. So, in that what she tells us, let us see. The war against the earth began with the idea of separateness. So, war against the earth, that began with the idea of this, that is separateness. Its contemporary seeds were sown when the living earth was transformed into dead matter to facilitate the industrial revolution. When was it started, the war against earth? When the contemporary seeds were sown, when the living earth was transformed into dead matter. So, when the living earth was transformed into dead matter, living earth in the sense this grow, whatever it can grow, it can give the greenery or green. So, that kind of land was turned into dead matter to facilitate the industrial revolution, where there is fields or farms, those places were turned into industries, and that started to develop the dead matter. So, monocultures replaced diversity, where there was diversity, that was replaced by monocultures. When the different types of trees, plants where there was available, and that was distracted or that was destroyed, and there in that place the monoculture was placed. Then raw materials and dead materials replaced vibrant, and these raw materials may be the iron, stones or whatever it may be, and dead matter that replaced the vibrant earth. Vibrant in the sense green or filled with life and energy. Such kind of land was filled with the raw materials and dead matter. Then terra nullis in the sense the empty land ready for occupation regardless of the presence of indigenous people replaced terra madre, mother earth. Terra madre in the sense mother earth, terra nullis in the sense empty land. So, everywhere the mother earth or the earth which was ready for cultivation, that was left empty. So, this is what Vandana Shiva, she tells about the dead earth worldview. This philosophy goes back to Francis Bacon, called the father of modern science, who said the science and the inventions that result do not merely exert a gentle guidance over nature's course, they have the power to conquer and subdue her, to shake her to foundations. So, here this idea or this philosophy goes back to Francis Bacon, the father of modern science. He had once he had said that the science and the inventions that result do not merely exert in the sense use power to effort something, a gentle guidance over nature's course. It not only gives the guidance, or it not only studies about the earth or the nature, but also they have the power to conquer and subdue her. They have the power, the science and technology has the power to conquer and subdue. Conquer in the sense to take control, subdue in the sense to control or to suppress or to shake her to her foundation. So, for example, atomic energy, all those things can shake the foundations of the earth. So, here philosopher called Caroline Marchant, what he says about Francis Bacon's this kind of opinion. He tells us that this shift of perspective in the sense this particular attitude from nature as a living nurturing mother to inert dead and manipulable matter. So, here the change from living to dead, considering, or the view or the attitude of human beings, that is earth is earlier it is considered as man was believed that earth is a living matter, and after this science and technology it is the man changed his attitude and believed that the earth is dead and it is a manipulable matter that was well suited to the activities that would lead to capitalism. So, this suits the act or activity of the capitalism. The domination images created by Bacon and other leaders of the scientific revolution replaced those of the nurturing earth, removing a cultural constraint on the exploitation of nature. So, one does not readily slay a mother, dig into her entrails for gold or mutilate her body, Marchant wrote. So, here man, he never feels for mutilating the body of his own mother, and here for the sake of gold, for the sake of profit, here the man he is readily slaying or killing the mother and dig into the entrails in the sense for example, as we call stomach of the for gold of mother earths. Okay. So, here man he has forgotten his limits and he is exploiting the earth, thinking that he could have control over earth and earthly matter or an ecology or on environment. So, this is what Vandana Shiva, she tells us in this essay that how the people, they have forgotten that they are the part of nature, and if we harm by thinking that man is superior and he can do anything for the earth, here Vandana Shiva tells us that man cannot do anything. Man is an inseparable part of the nature. If the man destroys or if the man disturbs the ecological system or the nature, definitely it is an end to the human being. So, this is what we have to understand, and we must protect, save or conserve this nature for ourselves and for also for our future. So, next in the next class let us see what the nature teaches. Nature is the teacher. It teaches right things, and also it punishes the guilt or mistakes of human beings. Let us see how the human beings they gained the knowledge from the forest, and what the nature that teaches the human beings. Let us see in the next session. Thank you for watching.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.